my friends, and welcome to No Nonsense Metal Reviews. I'm George, and today I have another instalment of bands you need to hear for you. Another band recommendation. If you're not familiar with this particular band, then you absolutely must check them out. And today's recommendation consists of an international outfit, a bit of a supergroup within the death metal world, if you want to call them a supergroup. That's a term that gets bandied around quite a lot, and sometimes I'm not necessarily sure if it's entirely appropriate. So we'll just say a little bit of a newcomer with some notable personnel on board. But they've only got one full-length album. I'm talking about Fetal Blood Eagle, which is a particularly disgusting name, and this is their debut album. This is Indoctrinate. Now this album, how did I come across this? Well, I read about in Fetal Blood Eagle in a magazine, Fistful of Metal magazine to be precise, and I was immediately quite interested to hear that they had Sven from death metal, I'm going to say reliable heavyweights, Aborted, on vocals. There's Sven, looking particularly serious. And I like the fact that it doesn't just say vocals, it says voice of 1,000 angels, which is definitely not the description that I would give Sven as a vocalist. I'd say he sounds like he's been possessed, a zombie possessed by some sort of horrific poltergeist creature. He's a pretty adept, pretty serious and harsh vocalist. Great vocalist, in fact, brilliant death metal vocalist. And Indoctrinate is a bit of a weird album because it's death metal, it's disgusting, it's gory, but unlike a lot of death metal that we get in, certainly over the last 5 or 6 years, a lot of the death metal that we've been getting tends to take itself very seriously. Fetal Blood Eagle clearly don't. They've clearly got a little bit of a humorous element there. Certainly when we look at that booklet, at the personnel. So Jim, apparently he is Hulk smashed guitar. That is his place within the band. Then we've got Ryan Bigley, huge pube fiddle. Not really sure what the hell that means. Then we've got Lenny, smooth jazz bass. And we've also got Kendall Pariah on Tuka Tuka Blast Smash. Very interesting stuff indeed. But what I appreciate is the fact they clearly don't take themselves too seriously. And I believe in that particular feature that I read, or that interview, that they said that they don't take themselves too seriously. They don't take death metal too seriously. They kind of bring in back a little bit of the tongue-in-cheek element. Not taking it too seriously, having a bit of a laugh, but also just delivering some solid death metal, taking the music seriously, but not necessarily getting too caught up with the politics and the social elements that tends to characterize a lot of lyrical content these days. And I do appreciate we have guest vocals. Get the fuck out of here. Appreciate that. That's really good. Good little bit of banter. So hopefully that sets the scene that you've got a great death metal band who don't take themselves overly seriously. They've got a sense of humour, essentially. So Fetal Blood Eagle, rather, brilliant. I'm going to say it's a kind of a combination of old school death metal, but also modern death metal. So it's a good balance of the older styles and the newer styles. The bands that it brings to mind, certainly this album Indoctrinate, what it brings to mind is it brings to mind Aborted, which is unsurprising because you've got Sven on vocals, so his vocals alone are going to kind of have that slight resonance. Understandable. So I'm going to say Aborted, but also the Black Dahlia Murder. I'm also hearing Carcass in there, particularly Heartwork Through Surgical Steel and Torn Arteries. Hearing a bit of Carcass in there. Massively influential band, of course. And, shockingly enough, I'm sure it'll be disgusting to hear for some people, but I'm hearing a little bit of Suicide Silence in there as well. And those bands that I mention is because there are certain parts of certain tracks that really bring those bands to mind. So, opening track there, we've got Necromorphic Illumination. That brings Aborted and the Black Dahlia Murder straight to mind. Absolutely straight away. You've got speed, but you've got technicality, but not overly technical. You've got aggression, you've got great riffs, you've got blast beat, you've got it all. It's brilliant. Tracks like the second track, Hate Fucked Face, which is a brilliant song title, and the fifth track, which is quite entertaining, Only Meth Is Real. Those two tracks in particular really bring Suicide Silence to mind. Certainly their newest album, and sort of circa You Can't Stop Me, that kind of era, Suicide Silence, where you've got death metal combined with deathcore. So it's not just outright deathcore. I'm not saying that Fetal Blood Eagle in any way is a deathcore band, but Suicide Silence are one of those great transitional bands where they've kind of injected death metal with deathcore. They've created that combination, and that is what I'm hearing on tracks like Hate Fucked Face, because you've got these massive, groovy, crunchy, chuggy riffs, absolute monoliths. Such a headbang worthy song. I would definitely say that Hate Fucked Face is an album highlight, and it's also one of those tracks where you think, wow, this is incredible. I absolutely need to stop what I'm doing and pay maximum attention and headbang like a lunatic. Amazing stuff. Razor Wire Communion, third track, is another album highlight. Dark. It's got atmosphere. It's got depth. But it really does bring to mind sort of retro gore and Necrotic Manifesto era Aborted for me. I'm definitely hearing that. Caverns of Deformulated Flesh. Great song titles there. Brilliant, solid death metal in the Black Dahlia Murder sort of vein. Brilliant stuff. Devoid of Corrosive Form and Abortion Dumpster Overload. There's technicality there. There's some amazing riffs. Absolutely, I should say musicianship across the board is absolutely flawless. Production is fantastic throughout as well, which really does help. Certainly no instrument is lost in the mix. You can hear the bass prominently, the drums are calamitous, and the riffs are cutting and amazing. Abortion Dumpster Overload, another great example of disturbing lyrical content or title content, but they clearly don't take themselves too seriously, so why should we? It's just brilliant death metal. That kind of has a little bit of a Cannibal Corpse resonance for me. Injected Larvae of the Hive Mind, brilliant track. Again, that's very Aborted, very Black Dahlia Murder. The Carcass resonance definitely comes through very strong on track 9, Decompression Disembowelment. It's a fantastic song, but certainly that intro in those kind of those melodic, groovy riffs really does bring Heartwork, brings Surgical Steel to mind. And you do get little utterances of Carcass scattered throughout the album as well. But that track in particular really does bring the Carcass association to mind, to the forefront. Closing track, track number 10, Cinder Block Suicide, is absolutely fantastic. A little bit of a Cannibal Corpse resonance again there, combined with the kind of the Suicide Silence vibe, the Aborted vibe. You've got a lot of different elements in there. So interestingly enough, considering that death metal is such a saturated subgenre, there are so many death metal bands, new and old. We have our heritage bands like Cannibal Corpse, like Carcass, like 6 Feet Under, even like Benediction, who have, in the last few years, they've been doing stuff that's still true to the sound, to the style, but it's better than a lot of other stuff that's around these days. But you've also got newcomers, bands like Undeath, for example, or Skeletal Remains, they're doing death metal and they're doing it just as good as some of those heritage bands. It's really refreshing for a band like Fetal Blood Eagle, although they've got a good pedigree. Their members are they've been in multiple bands, or they've had a good career themselves. It's really refreshing to come across a band like this and think, wow, this sounds different. This sounds original, but it sounds different. It sounds unique. It's not just members of bands such as Aborted doing something else that sounds like Aborted. There is a bit of a resonance. There is a certain familiarity, but this still sounds, Indoctrinate to me sounds like a very unique album. It sounds original. It sounds highly enjoyable. So I would say, although it's a little bit of a cheat, I suppose, because you've only got the one album, but this was actually released last year, I believe, in 2022. It's been out too long for it to be a new release recommendation, but I would say I'm very interested to see what Fetal Blood Eagle do next, and just on the strength of this one album, this debut album, they're a band you need to hear. So if you like Aborted, the Black Dahlia Murder, Cannibal Corpse, Suicide Island, Suffocation, Carcass, if you like bands that cover the whole death metal spectrum, you're going to find something that you enjoy on Indoctrinate. You're going to find some Fetal Blood Eagle material that is going to tick the boxes for you. Personal highlights and recommendations, if you're not convinced, check out Hate Fucked Face, check out Razor Wire Communion, check out Devoid of Corrosive Form as well, and Abortion Dumpster Overload. Absolutely brilliant. To be honest, start to finish, this is an absolutely solid, reliable death metal album. I wish in a way that I had heard it around the time that it came out, because this would have easily been a contender for my top 15 albums of 2022. That is how good this album is. Do not underestimate. This is a freaking great album. Absolutely love it. Fetal Blood Eagle, Indoctrinate. Check it out. Check them out. What are your thoughts and opinions on Fetal Blood Eagle? Are there any other fans out there? If not, if you've never heard them, check it out and let me know what you think. I'm very interested to hear. Thank you very much for watching, my friends. Do feel free to like and subscribe. Do check back soon for more reviews and recommendations of all the good, heavy things. But above all, take care, my friends. And as always, stay heavy.